Breathwork changed my life, now I'll help you change yours. In 2013, my world was turned upside down when my partner was murdered. I was thrown into grief, a place I never expected to be. The last decade plus has been a journey of healing, learning what works and what doesn't. Also how to rebuild from the darkest of places. I founded Vidya Breathwork, a method designed to make healing simple and accessible, and now I train facilitators to share this transformative practice globally. Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity, the podcast where we get real about transformation, growth, and stepping into your strength. Let's dive in. Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity. In this episode, I'm sharing my travel stories and how healing travel really is. And I'm not really talking about the spiritual stuff. Back then, version of me was very different in what she believed healing was. Very into fitness and healthy foods. However, still really loved to party. Party, numb out. I don't know what we're calling it right now from back in that time period. The trip was to Mexico and it was a bit of a wild start to the trip. I was meeting my friend in Mexico. I'd had a busy year prior leading up to this. So how I ended up on this trip was my friend said she was going. I just looked at her and went, all right, I'm coming. And I handed her my credit card. I'm like, book whatever needs to happen. I just don't have the brain capacity to think about with all the court case that was happening, planning my extravagant birthday. It was all too much. I'm like, yep. She basically would send me tasks. Buy a backpack like this. Go to this store. Make sure you have this. So she kind of spoon-fed me the travel plans. We only had 2 things booked and the rest was just travel, learn, backpack. I got to Mexico, felt very, very unwell. And you can imagine by the time I've got there, realizing maybe I should have spent a little bit of time practicing Spanish, because I got there, was going around to all these chemists, like asking for different medication. And I was just quite stressed at this point. I rang her and said, there is no way, we have to meet each other back in LA. I need to see a doctor. And she was like, what? I'm in China. I will meet you there. She'd had her own disastrous accidents on the way, which we will share when we do the podcast together. However we managed to get back to LA, and I'm like, I'm booking us a really nice hotel. I just want to sit in robes and look after ourselves because it's been a rough journey for both of us to arrive here. So we get there, we're both living it up, had showers. We hadn't even started our backpacking journey and already we're like, that's it. I need some luxury. The next few days we spent getting me to doctors, or trying to get into doctors to figure out what was going on in my body. And already in these times, it was kind of evident what type of travelers we were. I would say I'm a very relaxed traveler. I'm okay with a no plan. And as we're I think we're in a cab through Inglewood. She's living up all of her rapper dreams. I'm just get me to a hospital. I don't care. We've gone to one. Nope, couldn't fit me in. Had to go to another one. So we're catching the bus through the streets. I've fallen asleep on the bus. She's pocketed our passports, our money, everything. Got to remember, this is in my point where I really didn't care whether I made it or not. So she's my protector. I've got Josh looking after me spiritually. I've got Belle looking after me. On this trip, she was literally like my husband, because she would be the one organizing, looking after things. I'm like, yep, sweet, no worries, let's go with the flow. Eventually I found a hospital which was pretty much like a production line. I got in, felt better, a few more days at the hotel, and then I'm like, right, now we are ready to start our trip. We caught up with some of her friends in San Diego and we had Thanksgiving there. And she was Italian, so we were making gnocchi, and then we had this feast of pumpkin pie. Even this whole part was new to me. We were watching videos of turkeys exploding. Like, what? But that was such a cool beginning to our backpacking journey. The whole trip, I just had zero fear. And I really am grateful looking back because, well, for one, like I made it out alive because some of the things I said yes to on that trip and some of the things that happened, not ideal. Okay, again, she's going to have to be on the podcast to talk about this because I'm not good at timelines or where we went or recalling any of this. So I'll just tell you the bits and pieces that I remember that are really crucial to my healing journey. Like I've said before, learning to tell people was one of the biggest things and the harshness of this. So one of the places a lodge. It was like 12 hours on a bus to get there. And we'd been partying the night before. So I'm sitting on this bus next to some guy, this poor guy. I feel so sorry for him because I was so hungover. And at this point, I can remember I'm emotionally exhausted. Plus, I'm now partying. I just slept on this bus. It is the roughest road, I'm going to say close to in the world because I'm on this bus. Like, my head was on his shoulder and just like bouncing up and down over every bump. And he would wake me up like, are you sure you're okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm sweet. Like, I'm good. My head was just banging and he was like holding my head on his shoulder. I'd never met this guy, didn't know his name. Anyway, we ended up at this beautiful lodge in the middle of nowhere, waterfalls, there was all these different things to do, and every night, as you're in hostels, like every night is like games night, there's drinking, there's fun adventures and new people to meet. Very cool. And as we arrived, I'm pretty sure it was the first night, these two girls, and I remember, like, this is my practicing phase, remember this, practicing telling them that my partner was murdered, had died. And as I'd gone to bed, I remember sitting in my bunk and I could hear these two girls like bitching about me, saying, did you hear what that girl was saying? I can't believe she was telling everyone that her boyfriend died. Like, I'm gonna lie about it, you bitch. I just was so sad and upset and remember bawling my eyes out and Belle go, like, don't worry, you don't know them, you're never gonna see them again. Like, this is the practice phase, remember? At the same time, a guy that I'd met that night was like calling out my name, like, he was blind drunk, searching for me in the bunk beds. I was like, what? What is this guy doing? He was drunk, calling out my name. I was like, please, I'm like not in the mood to speak to anyone or talk to anyone. I can't even remember if we spoke that night. But the biggest thing I remember is these girls just being so horrid. So this is when I say, like, just be kind. Because one, everybody's doing the best they bloody can and everyone's navigating their way through life, whether it's grief or not. Life is hard enough without having to worry about what some girl is saying behind your back. So each of these journeys of healing along when you travel is huge. I always found that saying yes was the best. One, it led me to Josh. And so I just implemented this as I traveled. Another time we arrived at, I'm going to be terrible at telling any of these stories, so I don't remember any of their names. It was in Guatemala. It was this tiny little town, and as soon as the bus dropped us off, we had our backpacks and we walked out and we met these guys and they're like, oh, welcome, like, come straight to the pub. I'm like, yep. So we took our backpacks with us, and I'm pretty sure that night so they were telling us all about their maiden voyage. Like, they had a sailing boat and they were about to do like the first journey. I'm like, hell yes, like, I want to be a part of this. It was a couple of days sailing through the world's most dangerous waters in Honduras to Utila. I had watched videos on YouTube about Utila. It's like this place where everybody learns to dive and nobody leaves because you just end up partying and diving and partying and diving, which is pretty much what we did. I think we got stuck there for three weeks. So this voyage was the group of us that were traveling together, another girl that we'd met prior, and these guys. And so they'd organised our food, our drinks, like whatever, for this trip. The first night, everybody got seasick, except for me, or except for the guys that owned the boat and me. It was very, like, the water was very rough, but we'd been drinking red wine. So at this point, I thought I was a sailor. And imagine, again, like, no fear. The waves were huge, and we were like sailing this boat on the waves. So rough that every time we'd turn and I would like have to turn the wheel, I get thrown across the other side of the boat and have to like scramble back, grab the wheel, and like keep going. To me, this is like the ultimate fun. Still, I would love this. And him saying like, quick, put your phone away. Like, you can't shine any lights. There's pirates. I had zero idea that there were real pirates. It was only months after I got home that I got sent this article of people who had been robbed by pirates. They like took their boat, left them on the island in the middle of nowhere. I thought this was like a joke. I'm actually glad that I thought it was a joke. I probably would have been a little bit scared at that point. One of our sails ripped. The motor broke down. So here we are, stuck in the middle of nowhere on this boat trying to fix the motor. And it just reminded me of wakeboarding days with Josh and all the boys, because I don't know how, but every single trip there'd be something that they were fixing with the motor. They were all engineers and they all drove boats, so who knows what they were doing. And our trip, I think, was supposed to take 2 days. I don't even remember, and it ended up being 4 in the most dangerous waters in the entire world. Us swimming in the ocean. I had the time of my life. The only thing I thought, oh, maybe I'll take like a seasick tablet the next day just in case. These were like Mexican seasick tablets, because it did not make me calm or sleepy or anything. It made me high as a kite. And so just made my adventures so much better. Especially because I actually wasn't sick. We actually did make it to Utila and parked up and spent another day with our boat side by side with another guy and his boat. And we were partying in silks, and I think it took us like another 2 days to actually get our passport stamped to say that we'd made it. Once we were there, we ended up renting houses and we're diving. Like this place, I remember buying my dad a t-shirt from there because there was a bar called Rehab, and every there were like 12 steps to Rehab and 12 different shots, and so I bought t-shirts from there. This is where I was doing deep dives to like 40 meters and using like nitrox tanks, because I'd done my done my PADI, open water. I'm not sure. It was a 5-day course to learn how to dive. That is a whole nother story. So as we're diving and having fun, it was the best because you could drink and party and then the next day go for a dive and you feel good again, hydrated. The underwater part, like diving, is just something that I can hear my breath in and out, this constant, and being able to swim with all the fish. It was so peaceful and meditative for me. Right before I was about to do another dive, I got a phone call from my housemate back home saying that one of the guys had passed away who was with Josh that night. I think the story is he was driving by himself and crashed his car. Like, just gut-wrenching to know that another life was taken. So I wouldn't say I handled that well either. I just went to the bar at Rehab and drank. How ironic. And stayed on the island and partied for probably another 2 weeks. Utila was just such a beautiful place. Like, it was magical. So weird and wild, but really magical at the same time. diving at every island was just such a big part of our trip. Because Belle had done all of her diving prior, and when we were in Tulum, I did my open water. The girls that we did our open water was so cool. They took me cave diving. They're like, you really love adventure, don't you? I'm like, yep, I'm in. I did all my qualifications to pass, and then they took me to all these caves. So we'd dive down, we'd have to climb through caves. It was wild. There's so many cenotes where you're diving that are beautiful over there. The big one, the 30-meter one that Belle and I did together, where down at the bottom the salt water meets the natural water, and it's just like this beautiful space. But by the time you get down there, I was so knocked. I remember her asking me questions, and I was just like, oh, this is so beautiful, what is happening? But to get us both down there was a bit of a journey, because Belle hadn't done a dive for a little while, so she kept floating to the top, and I kept laughing at her. So it took us a while to actually get down, and you just circle your way down to the bottom and then circle your way back up. It was such a beautiful, everybody needs to do this stuff. Up there on my life list for sure. And so when I say healing is tough and it's been a journey, there's all these bits in between, because previous to me taking Josh to Bali, he wouldn't have ever traveled. The people that are quite content to just be in Australia, and that's fine. I basically had to drag him to Bali, and when he got there, loved every minute of it. And so that just fueled me to travel more, because seeing the world and experiencing how other cultures live, and how much they don't stress, and how much they see death and afterlife as such a beautiful space. Whereas I guess that wasn't really my upbringing. Not that I had a religious upbringing at all, but it was, just a different space. So the healing, I don't know whether it's healing anymore. It was just a bloody fun adventure. I hitchhiked. These are all the things you should never do. Hitchhiked. I actually wanted to catch a chicken bus, because over there, that's the rate of travel. But we'd just gotten lucky and met some really cool people, and went on sailing boats, or met people and they were going that way, so we jumped in their car or their bus with them. And so the next one was hitchhiking to a little surf town in Nicaragua, and it was Lauren and Phil. These are people that I just met along the way. Phil I'd met, it was on a cave diving adventure. Well, I'm telling this a little bit backwards. Let me recap. Christmas is one of the things that we booked, and this island that Belle had been to before, every island has golf buggies. That's how everyone gets around. And this island, Kikoka, everyone had spoken about it, so we decided to stay there over Christmas and just book that. I say I didn't do this. And we had our little place, our little hut, and it's really there's a couple of cool clubs there, and then there was this boat at the end where this Rasta guy lived. But most people would just sunbake during the day, party at night. That was kind of the whole vibe. And I'd gone out, and Belle decided to stay home this night and gone to this club, whatever it is. As we were leaving, I'm oh, I know the guy, down at the end, let's go hang out with him. You go on to his boat, have a joint. And this is when I know it was this massive setup. So we got there, and he was yep, come aboard, chatting to us. And then he handed me the joint. I didn't even have any. And the next minute, the cops were there. The police had come and busted us, and I was oh, it's okay, we'll just give you some money. And the cop yelled at me, he's right, smart mouth, you in the buggy, give me your key. So he drove my golf buggy, and these other, I think there was 4 other people that I was with. We go to the police station on this island, and he starts yelling at us, and I was shit, I've heard about this. I've heard these stories that you offer them, you can bribe, it's a bit like Bali. You can give them money to get out of it. I'm I don't want to miss my moment, because I'd heard another story of a friend who actually got locked up for 4 years in India because he didn't take this moment. And I'm like, oh no, I think I used my moment too soon. He just thinks I'm a smart ass at this point. So he'd taken all of us, he was yelling at us, two other guys and another girl. And like, right, say your name, say your age. So they're all saying their names and their age. They're like 21, 25, 4, like 30. This, they're all freaking out a lot. I was too, but I was like, oh, we just got to get out of this somehow. Like, this is ridiculous. We didn't really do anything wrong. We like almost smoked a joint. And how am I going to get us out? He took one of the girls into the back room. Like, we could still see her, so nothing was happening. She was just like trying to talk to them to like get us out of the scenario. I was just sitting there giggling, and so inappropriate to be giggling at this time, but I was like, I don't know what else to do. So when the girl came back and sat down with us, the two police like went into the back room and shut the door. I just said to the guys, like, I'm going to grab the keys. We have to run. I like ran around behind their desk, grabbed the keys for the buggy, ran out and just like bolted into the buggy as fast as the buggy can go, right? Drove it away, hid it behind this shed and like told everyone to run and go back to their rooms. Got back to the room, told Belle what had happened. She was like, what the hell? From then, she made me watch the show Locked Up Abroad, something. She's like, you don't want to get locked up over here. Like, we don't need any more drama on this trip. So that was my one getting arrested story. The other that kind of like set the scene for the entire trip was the next island after this. We had another golf buggy. We were all driving it around. We got told about this secret beach. And this secret beach was maybe like a half an hour drive away on the buggy. So 6 of us pile in. I'm driving the entire time out there. We swim. It was beautiful. It's like this little jetty. And then we're driving back. So I'm driving. Belle was like, yep, I want to turn. I'm like, yep, cool. And there was a guy that she was seeing on the buggy as well, and he was like, yeah, drive faster. So she's like, and she like sped around this corner, and I like never let her forget this. It was impossible because as she sped around the corner, the entire buggy, it was like slow motion. I just remember turning and like looking, and everybody and the buggy fell on top of me, and I was in like a bikini and sarong, so I just gravel the whole side of my body, and they were like, get up. I'm like, I can't move, like something is really wrong, I cannot move. And so everyone got up, they pulled the buggy off. I'm really injured, like this is not good. So me and another guy started walking back because the buggy wouldn't start. Walking back, and on the island there's like little piers, and like a water taxi will come and pick you up. And so we waited for one of those, and the pain was excruciating. So I put my arm in a sarong, blood running down the whole side of my body, and just making our way back to the place where we were staying. I just started loading up on more Mexican painkillers. Everyone came home, they were like, woo, we're going out. I'm like, there's no way I can go out. Like, I am very injured, and I just didn't know what had happened over the next few days. Like, there was no bruising, there was not much swelling at all, but it was so sore, like I couldn't touch it. There was no doctors on any of these islands, right? But over the next few weeks, these were all the places that I wanted to go, like cave diving. So I just had to take more painkillers and go on these adventures. As I'm like jumping down, like when we were booking each one, I'm saying to the guy, like, how much jumping is there? Am I going to be okay? And when you only have one arm, you become quite nimble. The only thing was like jumping was probably the more impact. And one of the guys, this is how I met Phil, I just said to him, oh, I think I've really hurt my arm. Do you mind if you could just like give me a hand up this part? And so then we started chatting, and it turns out that he was from a town like half an hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes away from where we were staying. And so we waited for one of those, and the pain was excruciating. So I just from where I was born in South Australia. And like, no, this town is so tiny, nobody even knows. And he said the name of it. I'm like, oh, I know this place because I know how to say it backwards. And so we just ended up traveling together for the next few months with another girl that I'd met this tiny town and surfed, which was pretty cool. But on the way back, my thumb out and this guy pulled over. And he was, I would say in his like late 60s. He's like, oh, I've never hitchhiked before. And he's like, well, I've never picked anyone up before. Phil and Lauren are like, holy shit, we're either all going to die together or it's going to be a great story. He was driving and he ended up being a really famous Spanish author. Like he was a writer. And he's like, oh, on the way back to Nicaragua, I could take you to where I do all my writing. And we were like, yeah, sure. So we went up to this little cottage on the hill and had beers with him. And you can imagine his stories. Like, that's the best part of traveling. You meet so many cool people that have so many worldly stories to share. And so he shared with us just cool, heartfelt stories. And when we got back to Nicaragua, he ended up taking us out on all of these day adventures, just to places that you would never find. Like, I hate doing tours. I hate being at places where everyone's getting their photo taken and you wait in line to get the Instagram shot. Hate. I would rather stay somewhere for like 3 days and explore all of the like back alley places. To me, that's way more fun. I don't like waiting in line, and all of these cool bits make the best stories anyway. His sister was an interior designer. He's like, you can come live over here if you want, you can work. And he took us to these volcanoes. We got to help these little kids. Just heartwarming stuff. And that's the sort of stuff that I've remembered from my trip, those moments. Because those are the moments that are healing. Like walking with these little kids, helping them and hearing stories and of like how much like his whole family, his kids. It's cool. We generally stayed about like 3 days in each place at a minimum. That's kind of like my minimum. I didn't like packing my bag because I couldn't. It turns out that I'd fractured my arm in 3 places, but didn't know that until 6 weeks later. So in that time, there's like during the day, my arm would be in a sling. And as the night progressed and the more I drank, I'd be like, woo, my arm would be up in the air. So the next day would be sore again. But I did go see this Mayan healer. So she was in Lake Atalan in Guatemala. And I'd heard stories. I was like, okay, well, if I'm here and if I believe it enough, it's going to work. I'm not sure what happened, but I went into a massive shock. So we go up to this lady's house, and this is tiny little lady. I sit and she gets a rock and puts a cloth over the top and rubs this rock up and down my arm. And it was so painful. But I think that pain turned into shock because all of a sudden I couldn't really feel it. Belle was looking at me going like, tell her to stop. Tell her to stop. I just went white as a ghost. I was like, I think I'm going to pass out. But like, I had no other option, no other doctor option. So I'm like, just believe in this. It will work. And so then after a while, like, I couldn't feel anything. I was like, I think you actually healed me. Like, this has worked. So that night at the hostel quiz night, talking to these girls, and they were nurses, and she's like, there's no way you're healed. You've just put your body into absolute shock. Well, I can't feel anything, so it's worked for this point in time. She's like, this is so unhealthy. But anyway, I soldiered on, and it wasn't until I got back to Antigua that I actually went to the hospital to get the x-rays. And they were like, fracturo, fracturo. That's probably said horribly wrong, by the way. That, yeah, it definitely was fractured. It was very sore. And when I did finally return to Australia, the option was to have it rebroken. But after months of traveling, I'm like, there's no way. Like, I need to get back to work. Like, I've literally flew in to work today. So It's still fractured and healed wrongly, but it's there. Meeting people is the other part. We get so accustomed to our friends that we know and the lives that we live that meeting others just became my favorite part. It also became the hardest part because we're taught to love. We're taught to love the people around us, our family, our friends, to find the person that you love. We're not really taught to let go though. That's also the next part. So because we were only in places like 3 days at a time, like that's enough time to, especially when you're traveling, connect with really cool people. And every place I'd be like, oh, I've met the best people. And Belle would say, you'll meet new people again. I was like, oh, I'm just so not used to this. Like, I find these people, I love these people. Each new place, like, we'd meet new cool people. So it was a practice of letting go as well. All of these things, like, that's healing is found in these simple things, these fun times. Speaking of simple things, let me tell you this. The song that we were playing on the way home from the court case is called Simple Things. It's a remix by Miguel. In Antigua, Belle and I decided to get a matching tattoo. And because we played this song over and over and over again as we were traveling, it'd be like our packing song, we'd be dancing on Christmas, on New Year's. Like this song was on repeat. And I'm like, right, this is the tattoo, but we'll get it in Spanish. So it'd say The Simple Things, but in Spanish. We'd picked out our design. The other design on the back of my arm was designed by this guy that I'd met. Him and I, like he was so cool. He was this gay guy that we would go on adventures with. We got like leather boots designed in Mexico. He took me to all like the great places to shop. I got so all these cool shopping designer things done, and then he was like, yep, I'll design you a tattoo. So he designed the tattoo on the back of my arm, and then Belle and I got the matching The Simple Things. Hers is on her ribs, mine is on the back of my arm, so like a bit of a sticker on the back of my tricep. And it wasn't until like, I'm going to say like 3 weeks later, so Belle and I had gone different ways in our traveling. She'd stayed in Antigua to work, and I kept traveling with Lauren and Phil. And she rang me like hysterical, going, our tattoo is spelt wrong. And I just started laughing. I'm like, mine is on the back of my arm. Everybody can see my tattoo. Everybody who speaks Spanish will know that it's wrong. Like, I could probably change mine and like fit the missing letter in, but the story's way better if it's spelt wrong. It's funnier to me. My Spanish is terrible. So maybe one day when I can actually speak Spanish fluent, I will then fix my tattoo. But no, the story's way cooler. Tattoos are stories of times in my life. They all have really cool meanings behind them or special memories. So it's staying misspelt. Because our life and how we heal is by telling stories. And I never want to forget any of these, because my memory is terrible enough. So this is my little diary to all of you guys. In saying to travel, learning about yourself, learning how you cope in scenarios that you have no control over. I don't control if I have to sit on a 15-hour bus ride. I never in my life thought I would be able to manage that. Yet with a little bit of a hangover, snacks, probably a sleeping pill at that point, and shows on my iPad, I made it. And a book. I'd always have a book. So I can do hard things. One of the other small towns we went to was called Monte Rico, so this little surf coastal town. I think there was maybe 5 of us that had gone on this little adventure. It's like a holiday within a holiday. And we'd arrived, everywhere you go you have tequila shots, and we started lighting a bonfire that night. And one of the local guys was like, oh, here, I'll come and help you get firewood. I was like, yep, cool. And he's like, oh, we just rip it off the fence. So here we are, like pulling wood off a fence. And then I'd like turned around and he'd gone to kiss me. But at the same time, I'd pulled off this massive plank. So I've pulled off this plank and like whacked him in the face. I'm going like, oh my gosh, I'm so, so sorry. I've hurt you. I really apologize. Oh my God. At the same time, my friend Az was like running down the beach, screaming my name out. It's like, V, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I've just like knocked this guy out. I'm so sorry. I apologize. And then he started laughing. He's like, I've come to save you because this guy is known to harass girls and do horrible things to them. And I'm like, oh, I've just knocked him out. This is when I know Josh was watching out for me because what the hell? We've come back to the bar and the owner of the bar is like, he's actually not allowed around our bar. And so you guys get free drinks all night because this is the best story ever for our local community. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So unbeknownst to me, I've knocked out a local not nice man and we got free drinks. One of the things to do there in that space is to go visit baby turtles. So Ryan and I had gone on this adventure. He'd like organised this canoe. This guy was paddling us through the rivers, and as we're moving through, we hear this like guy yelling, and this guy stands up and is pointing a gun at us, and we're like, I don't think this is normal. And they're both speaking in Spanish. Are we going to die at this point? Nope, did not die. The guy talked him out of it. We were allowed to continue our private tour, which I'm pretty sure was through private property. Like thinking back, I'm like, how did we get ourselves in this situation, this scenario? Like Ryan was always really fun in these adventures. Studying, we drank way too much, but we always would go on ridiculous fun adventures within the adventure holiday. So the night that I'd met Ryan, I'd also been talking to these other guys who were like, yes, we're going to go on this adventure. I'm like, oh, adventure sounds like my thing. Like, we're going to climb a volcano tomorrow. Do you want to come? This was like probably 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Like, what do we need to pack? Where do we need to sign up? It's like, well, we're probably going to need some red wine because we're going to camp there the night and supplies. So off we go to the bottle shop. What are they called over there? Supermarket is Mercado. Again, horrible pronunciation. And got all our wine, packed our bags. I needed some warm clothes. I'm sleeping on a volcano and I hate the freezing cold. And we go. I've still got a broken arm at this point. I'm like, am I going to be able to make it up the volcano? I was able to make it because I didn't have to carry my 20-kilo backpack. Poor Belle had to carry this huge backpack. And because I'd convinced her to come on this bloody adventure, she was cursing me the entire time. Also because we'd had, I'm going to say like maybe 45 minutes of horizontal time in bed. The rest of the time we were partying. So we were still drunk. 45 rest and climbing up this mountain. And I just had the giggles the entire time. I could not stop laughing because I got us into this mess. Like, I kind of thought climbing a volcano would be a couple of hours. It was 8 hours up this steep volcano. So just giggling and giggling the entire time until we got closer to the top where that was like pebbly and rock. So that was harder for me to climb. So I wasn't quite laughing as much. All I could think of was like, I have no idea how I'm going to get down because I'm falling, climbing up. I can do that with one arm. But on the way down, like I've got no control to slide. Like you'd want to put your hands out. So we make it up to the top and we're just like, thank goodness we made it. Everybody else puts up their tents, goes to bed. We continue drinking, partying, taking whatever at the top of this volcano. And we end up having tacos. So Belle has asked the guy to make us tacos at midnight or whatever. So we're having this feast of tacos. We drank all our 6 bottles of red wine at the top of the volcano and then ended up like passing out in our tents. We didn't quite make it for the sunrise viewing because that was also another I think maybe half an hour climb in the morning, not sure. Anyway, didn't quite make that. What I did do was convince our guides the night before if I could ride a horse back down, because with my broken arm I was like, I'm just going to hurt myself very badly. Also, how fun riding down on a horse. I really probably upset quite a lot of the people, because if I was on the horse, it meant the horse couldn't carry lots of everybody's stuff down. So people had to carry a bit more of their own belongings, but I got to ride down on this horse. It was so fun. Again, another thing up there on the bucket list, and got to have a bit of a sleep in the car while I waited for everybody else to make their way down. So it was a pretty awkward bus ride back to our hostel because everyone's pretty dirty on me, including Belle. I was like, remember when you broke my arm though? Oh, what an adventure. I only flew back to Darwin because I was in the middle of designing this high-rise building, and they were very, very gracious in allowing me to take some time to sort my head out, sort my life out. And yeah, came back to Darwin. Realised I needed to be back, so it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I think I need to book. So I booked my flight, told the crew that I was leaving, and we went out for dinner that night and I flew home. It was sad, but also very, very much needed, and came back to Darwin to complete my design project. So my advice for this one is travel. Travel and talk and share your stories. There's a place for talking and sharing, but it's just that. To me, it's just that. Me telling my story over and over again doesn't change it. It doesn't help me process the emotions. The only way for me, someone who has a really busy mind, is to somatically move them out of my body. And so that can be with tapping. That can be with shaking, jumping up and down. During those times, it was movement. So this is when yoga started entering into my life. And being able to move your body in a way without having to think, being able to feel, because that's an important part of all of this stuff. So really, really allowing yourself to work out your way of moving emotion through your body. It may be a run, it may be a walk, it may be shaking, jumping. Ultimately for me now it's breathwork. So one breath technique I have to clear my mind and help with my digestion, so it brings fire into the body, is it's like a bellows breath, and this is a pranayama technique. This is one to not do when you're pregnant, but it's really good for the body just to build the fire and have a bit of like a cleanse. It is in and out through the nostrils. Think of having your belly button hit your spine. You want your chest and shoulders to remain still. And I always say this, always preface this, breathwork is messy, it's not cute. So when you're breathing, make sure your nostrils are clear, blow your nose. And just think of your belly button hitting your spine. So breathe in, and then do a full exhale, all the air goes out. And then you're going to inhale halfway, and then you're just going to press the air out through your nose. And the inhale happens automatically. And you can go as fast or as slow with this one as needed. Faster, like this. It's just your lower belly going in and out. I'm on a bouncy couch, so it's going up and down, but in and out of the belly, hitting this. Thank you. Thank you. We made it through another episode. Much love. Deep breath. That's a wrap for this episode of The Dark Side with Verity. I trust it's given you clarity, sparked awareness, and allowed you to breathe a little deeper, plus a little takeaway to integrate into your life. If this has resonated, I'd love you to leave a 5-star review, of course. More importantly, I would love you to share this with someone who's on their journey and needs a little bit of assistance. Come hang out with me over at Instagram at VerityJoCoonan or The Dark Side with Verity, or start to explore Vidya Breathwork at verityjocoonan.co. Until next time, breathe deep, trust the process, and keep expanding. Much love.